You know that the things that you study at this university is very applicable in the real world.
One of the things that surprised me when I started DTU is how much they focused on group work and how much that work is geared towards the industry.
At DTU, there's an open door policy, which means that if you come across any problem or issue, you just knock upon the professor's door and they'll be always very glad to help you with your expert guidance.
You can even call them by the first names, and that evens the playing field.
I think I've been very lucky with the people who have been advising me. They are at the top of their field. They are the guys to go and ask, but also they are not full of themselves. They know that they don't know everything, and that's why we are researching and working together.
Having my master's at DTU really prepares for my PhD study because it teaches me how to learn new things very quickly.
You kind of are thrown out of your comfort zone to learn, to meet people, to network, be confident, and there's always new things to learn under the sun.
Okay, great. After we heard a little introduction, welcome everybody to this webinar. And this is about the DTU's Architectural Engineering and Sustainable Fisheries programs. So 2 programs will be presented today, and you will hear more about DTU as well. Before we go over to the speakers in Denmark, I'd like to briefly explain some of the interactive options we have for you. So first of all, you can say where you're logging in from, for example, through the chat. So just to see a bit of the diversity of people in the session. But second of all, most importantly, probably your questions. If you have any questions, you can write them at any time through the panel called questions at the right bottom, and we will be answering the questions at the end. So for the people joining live, we will be answering them later on. For people watching the recording, by the way, you can also still write your questions, and we will be able to answer them probably by email. So for what else, we also have opened up a little poll. I already see some people are answering. That's great. So I will be opening up a couple of more poll questions throughout the session just to get to know you a little bit better and to have your feedback. And last but not least, we have a little fun button, I like to call it. It's at the bottom. That's called React. If you click on that, you can give a reaction of your choice. And just to, that's the one. And we like to get those just to see if you're paying attention to what we're saying. Wow. Without further ado, let's go over to the presenters, as mentioned. So we will be starting off with Ollie. Welcome, Ollie.
Thank you, Luke. And well, first of all, I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Ollie Westby, and I'm here today to be talking about DTU, and I'm really excited to be presenting DTU and Denmark. Not only excited for being here, but also excited for you, because it means that you now have the opportunity to enroll into one of the world's top international universities in engineering and technical sciences. So as mentioned, my name is Ollie Westby. I work with international master's admissions and recruitment here at DTU. And I have with me my colleague, Xenia. Xenia, would you like to say something?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Ali. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to meet you virtually. My name is Sinya, and I also work in international admissions together with Ali. And later on in the webinar, I will be introducing you to international admissions. How about you, Peter?
Yes, hello. Hi, my name is Peter Skov. I'm the head of studies for the Sustainable Fisheries and Aquaculture program. And I look forward to having the opportunity here to tell you a little bit of something about our program. Yeah, I'll be on in a little bit.
Hi.
Over to you, Tim.
Hi, thanks, Peter. Hi, my name's Tim McGinley, and I'm head of studies for architectural engineering, and really interested to talk with you about that today and find out if you have questions and get to know you guys a little bit. So thanks very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim. And yes, so I am, of course, here to be talking about DTU, but the first thing I would, of course, like to say is welcome to Denmark. So, Denmark, we are, of course, the land of Vikings. Even though we are not really Vikings anymore. We decided to stop the pillaging and just build Legos and eat pastries instead. So we are a small, but I would say quite mighty Nordic country with a population of about 5.9 million people. And we have Copenhagen as our capital city. And the background here is, of course, one of the famous places in Copenhagen. So even though we're a small country, we are a very diverse country. We have people from around the world, and this mix of culture makes Denmark a really vibrant and inclusive place to live. Another thing that's really important to mention is that Denmark's commitment to sustainability and green energy has made it a global leader in environmental initiatives. So you will hear the word sustainability quite often through this presentation here today. So what does it mean to be an international in Denmark, though? Well, the first thing that is important to mention is that the Danes are, of course, the happiest people on the planet. And why are we the happiest people on the planet? Well, I would say that it's probably because of the work and life balance that we have here in Denmark. So we like to work hard, we like to study hard, but we also like to play hard. And having a vibrant personal life that could also positively affect your work life as well. I would say that we're quite friendly people here. We don't really have a language barrier. All of us speaks English really well. But then at the same time, I would always advise you, if you end up in Denmark or in any other country, that if they have a local language, try to learn it. It doesn't hurt, and you will be able to take part of a culture in a slightly different way as well. We do have really high tax rates here in Denmark, and while that sounds really scary, it does provide us with a lot of goods. So we have a good welfare society, we have good infrastructure, we have free education and healthcare, we have a safe environment, and a very high standard of living. We are also known for quite a lot of different things, innovation, technological achievements. We have modern architecture and design. And when I talk about modern architecture and design, if you have heard about Scandinavian design, that is more or less Danish design. So, and yeah, I also believe Tim has a lot to talk about when it comes to architecture as well later. We really believe in a clean environment and renewable energy. And of course, we all build Lego here in Denmark. When it comes to safety, Denmark actually do have one of the lowest crime rates in the world. And I know that for many of you that might be going abroad for maybe the first time and have family members that are really worried about you going abroad, or you have friends that are worried about this, you can just tell them, like, don't worry, it's fine, I'm going to Denmark. It has, in fact, one of the lowest crime rates in the world. So it is very, very safe here. Also, another good thing about DTU and Denmark is that we are placed really well in Europe. So we are a part of Scandinavia, we're a part of the Nordics, we are a part of Europe, and we're a part of Northern Europe. So we are positioned really as a Nordic hub, which means you can get anywhere really, really fast. So I made this little map just to give you an idea of where we are placed. So as you can see, we're placed just below Norway and besides Sweden. But that also means that, let's say on the weekend, you don't have any classes, you don't know what to do. It means that you could actually just jump on a plane and go shopping in London, let's say. Or if you just want to go and have a great time in Berlin, it takes you like an hour. If you want to go and have French food in Paris, it takes you less than 2 hours. you want to go and visit Santa Claus up in Finland, it's less than 2 hours. If you don't want to do the cold thing and you want the warmer thing, you can go to Portugal and Spain in about 3 hours. So there is really a lot of things and places you can go with staying in Denmark. And also, if you're studying in our Copenhagen, if you're staying in our Copenhagen campus, you can actually get to Sweden in just 30 minutes by train, because Copenhagen is actually directly connected to the third biggest city in Sweden, which is Malmö. And if you are living in Hirtshals, which is where our sustainable fisheries and aquaculture is based, you can actually jump on a ferry and you can be in Norway in about 2.5 hours. So there is really a lot of things that you can do. Yes, and then of course, welcome to DTU, Technical University of Denmark. So we are one nationwide university. So we have our main campus in Lyngby, which is just north of Copenhagen. And we also have Hirtshals, where Peter will be talking about later, which is in the north of Denmark. And then we also have campus in Greenland even. So it's one of those places I haven't been. I really want to go. But yeah, if you really want to study in Greenland, you could do that as well. I know rankings can be quite important to many of you, so I would like to mention just a few of them. If we look at maybe the most famous ones here, I would say that the QS World University ranking. In the world, we're currently ranking 109. If you look at Times Higher Education World Ranking, we are 124. And then, of course, I have to mention the NG rank. So the NG rank is a European ranking that ranks all the engineering schools in Europe. And we are really happy that we are ranking #1 for 2 years on a row now. So you are actually coming to the best engineering school in Europe when you come to DTU. A little bit of numbers from 2023. We have 15,245 students from 107 different countries. So we are a very international university. About 33% are women. And when it comes to our Masters of Science and Engineering, we have 5,725 students. So if you see here, we actually have 2,766 international students, which means that it's about 48% of our students are international students. So it is, in fact, a really international university. We have a lot of different study programs. I won't go too much into details, but I will mention one of the few things that is important. So we do have one Bachelor of Science in General Engineering, which is a 3-year bachelor where you can get 180 ECTS. We have 32 different master programs. These are 2-year programs, 120 ECTS, and you can actually apply to boost your masters as well and have an honors track. You will have a chance to study abroad, and you could also even join a joint program, international program, that makes it possible for you to study at 2 different universities. The last one here, I do think is the most important one, though, is that it's really important to know that all of the programs that we are teaching here at DTU are in English. So you don't need to worry about studying Danish to be able to keep up in class. And as mentioned, we have 32 different master programs here at DTU. So if you have a background in engineering or technology, I am pretty sure that you will be able to find something that sparks your interest. So we have anything from applied chemistry, we have architectural engineering, we have biotechnology, we have earth and space physics, civil engineering, we have food technology, we have human-centered AI, we have ocean engineering, we have sustainable energy, we have wind energy, we have sustainable fisheries, and so on and so on and so on. So we have really a lot of different programs that you can apply to here at DTU. But enough of me talking about all the different programs. We're also here today to be speaking about two different programs in 2 different campuses here at DTU. So we're gonna first go over to the Sustainable Fisheries and Aquaculture in Hirtshals, and I'll give you the word, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ollie. Thanks for the introductions and thanks for the nice presentation of DTU. As I said, my name is Peter Skov. I'm here to talk about our master's program in Sustainable Fisheries and Aquaculture, which, as has been mentioned, is located on one of our smaller campuses in Hirtshals, where our research infrastructure for fisheries and aquaculture is located. To give you a little bit of a preamble or background for why we have this education is briefly that we are a fishing nation, and we are a nation that is also producing a large volume of our seafood in aquaculture. And there are some very strict environmental legislation surrounding how we go about both fisheries and how we go about aquaculture. And so there are clearly a lot of sustainability questions that have been addressed in the past 20 years, and that still need to be addressed. So there is a need for aquaculture engineers and for fisheries engineers in order to be able to design the future and plan how we are going to produce fish, either from capture-based fisheries or from aquaculture production. At the same time, I will mention a little bit on the side that our aquatic ecosystems here in Denmark, but also in various places around the world, are under an increasing pressure from various anthropogenic activities, and there is a need for us to become better at managing our aquatic resources. And this aquatic management of our and protection of our biodiversity and our aquatic ecosystems is an embedded part of our program that I'm not going to address specifically, but I just want to make aware to you that this is a part of the program as well. These are two, for anybody who knows anything about aquaculture and fisheries, these are two like classical graphs that you will see in almost in a lot of presentations anyway. So the one on the left is fisheries. So this is how much fish is landed from fisheries around the world. I don't know whether you can see the axis on my screen, it's quite small. But you can see that the blue graph on the left plateaus around 1990 at about 90 million tons of seafood per year. So for the past 30 years, we've been fishing out 90 million tons of seafood from our oceans around the world, and this is stabilized, and the majority of these fisheries are sustainable. They are, at least in Europe, very tightly regulated about how much we can fish and what sort of fishing equipment can be applied. If we shift our focus a little bit to the right, we see aquaculture, and the graphs are the y-axis on the graphs are actually similar. So we can see that in the past 50 years, aquaculture production has gone from being a relatively insignificant volume to today being more than, well, if we count also aquatic plants like seaweed aquaculture, we're now looking at something around 130 million tons per year. So you can already now probably see, okay, collectively we're looking at something of around 250 million tons of seafood that is being either caught or being produced in aquaculture systems. And clearly, there's a lot of potential research efforts and certainly educational efforts involved in that. And this is what we want to do. So how are these different fishing and aquaculture practices performed? We'll come back into that in a little bit when I talk more about what the actual content of the program is. So if we look at the competencies of a graduate in sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, we at DTU have a sort of template for how your course program is lined up. So we have a small course block of 2 5-credit courses in a 120 ECTS program that is our Polytechnical Foundation. This consists of an innovation in engineering course and a quantitative sustainability. So from DTU side, there is a wish that all of our students, regardless of which master's program they're following, have some basic knowledge and competencies within both the field of innovation and within the field of sustainability. So we're off campus, as I said. So the sustainability course is an online course because all of the students follow it. And the innovation course is one where you physically go to the main campus for a 3-week period to participate in that course in order how to develop innovative processes with your peer students from other master's programs, which is a quite interesting opportunity. If we look at the program-specific courses, this is essentially the core of the program. These are split into some general courses that you need to take. This includes mathematical modeling. How do we model different processes? How do we model the efficiency of a fishing gear or the efficiency of some sort of water treatment in an aquaculture system? So it's a course where we try to include relevant cases and problems from your study lines so that you're calculating something that is real and relevant to you. The same goes for the statistics course. This is a 5-credit course that you follow, which gives you some statistical competencies for your future studies and certainly for your thesis work. Then we have an introductory course on aquatic ecosystems and their organisms, and this is essentially because our uptake is a mix of bachelor students with a natural science background and those with an engineering background. And if you come in with an engineering background, you may not know so much about aquatic ecosystems. So this is sort of a very introductory course. And it's a practical course where we're also doing some practical exercises and small-scale experiments. And then to follow up on the central innovation course at DTU, we also have a blue innovation course where you work with an innovation project within either the field of fisheries or aquaculture. So beyond the general courses, we split into 2 study lines, either a fisheries study line or an aquaculture study line. And I would like to say that you don't necessarily need to follow a study line. You can also just sort of go through the program with a mix and match according to your interests. So the fisheries is very much about fisheries systems. What sort of environments are we fishing in? There's a lot about how we manage different fish stocks, how many fish are out there. What sort of fishing pressure can we apply to different populations of fish? What is sustainable? There's also a lot about genetics in fisheries, different fish stocks. What is their genetic profile? How can we make sure that fish that are landed actually come from the place where they say they are landed? Because we know the genetic profile of different stocks. So there's a lot of practical work that's done in that. It's also a practical work where you're also doing work in the laboratory. Then we have a lot about capture methods and capture technology. Fishing is a lot of things. It can be anything from bottom trawling, which is a quite impactful way of fishing that really needs some work on how do we minimize the environmental impact of our fishing efforts. How can we moderate different fishing tools to minimize the impact of those efforts? And then, of course, there's pelagic trawling and there's set nets and there's all sorts of different fishing. So we cover all of these different fishing methods and explain how they work. Then you can move on to do a more advanced modeling course to sort of try to simulate. A lot of these processes can be hard to do experimentally if it's relatively large fishing vessels with very large gears. It can be a more appropriate approach to try to model some of these processes. So you do that well as well. And then finally, there's a course on recreational fishing, because recreational fishing has a huge financial significance in Denmark and in many of the other Nordic countries. It's really a multi-billion kroner industry. So if we swap over to aquaculture, we can say that aquaculture in Denmark is about farming fish on land. So aquaculture can be either cage production in the open ocean, where we rely on ecosystem services to provide a nice environment for our fish and to clean up after the fish farming, or we can move onto land and apply recirculating aquaculture, where ecosystem services become engineered. So we need to apply the equipment and technology that provides the same services as the ecosystem would. That means that we filter the water. The main objective here is to ensure that the water quality within the production system is pristine, to ensure excellent performance of the fish and good animal welfare in aquaculture. What is good water quality? There's a course on that, and how do we measure all of these different water quality parameters? So that's also covered. One of the things that we see are taking off currently is low trophic aquaculture. This is about farming extractive species like mussels or seaweeds. They are becoming more and more important as a food source and for different biopharmaceuticals or high value components that might be in these things. So we have a course on that as well, which is also a practical course where you go and do actual experiments with different low trophic organisms. Same as with fisheries, we also have a genetics course in aquaculture. This is more in terms of related to how we selectively breed for fish that have a particular trait. Either they grow fast, or they are robust, or they are resilient to different things. We have a course on diseases in fish. Fish, they are relatively tightly together in a recirculating facility. Sometimes diseases happen. What kind of diseases? How are they diagnosed? How are they treated? There is a course on nutrition. What do we feed the fish? Essentially, all aquaculture is based on food input. So we need to formulate some diets, and we need to make sure that those diets are based on sustainable ingredients. Previously, it was very much about fish meal. Now it's more and more plant-based, and now it's more and more looking at different components from the circular economy. And then you have about 30 credits left in the elective category that you can use for, well, almost anything. So a lot of our students like to do special courses on topics that are of interest to them. We have a lot of industry partners surrounding the campus. All of the campus is located right by a big industrial harbor, so there are lots of fishing vessels. It's also located within a few, anything from 5 minutes to a few hours from some relatively large land-based recirculating systems where you can go and do special courses in collaboration with industry. It's an excellent way to get your foot inside the industry and sort of start to build your industrial network, which could be a huge benefit for you for future employment. You can of course also do international exchange. We also have a one-to-one exchange program with Norwegian Technological University, where you can go and look more about sea cage culture. If that's what you're interested in, that's also a possibility. Or you can use your electives to go and do courses at other universities or in other departments. So there are lots of thesis topics. I'm running slightly out of time, I can see, but thesis topics essentially range from a lot of over a lot of different topics: populations of wild fish, habitats, how we manage fisheries, development of bycatch reduction devices, feeds for aquaculture using black soldier flies, valorizing different agricultural residues into fish feed, looking at thermal preferences of fish, and so on. Tons of opportunities to be taken. Then just 1 minute about Hirtshals campus. This is a brand new campus. It was opened in September 2023. It's 1,500 square meters of top educational environment. There's a state-of-the-art laboratory. lecture theaters, climate controlled rooms for experimental work, lounge areas for students to relax or have their Friday bar and chat about this and that, about the lecturers or whatever they talk about. I think our education gives you a really nice opportunity to go out in the world and land yourself a nice job in an industry that certainly needs engineers in this topic. Our graduates have gone all over the place. Some work in industry, some have gone to do PhDs, some work in government, and so on. So lots of opportunity. We're up here, gateway to the north. As was said, you can catch a ferry to Norway, to Iceland, to the Faroe Islands, or you can catch a train if you want to be more sustainable and travel down through Europe. That's it. There's the QR code for our Instagram. You can check out what some of our students are doing and saying. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. And yeah, you can see that you're really passionate about this as well. And it's, as always, when you talk about something you're really passionate about, time just flies away. So, but yeah, and I see that there is a lot of questions coming in as well. We will, of course, be answering questions later at the end of the presentation. But yeah, now we are actually gonna take a train down to Copenhagen and to our Copenhagen campus. And Tim, the word is yours.
Thanks, Ollie. Hi, everyone. So we're going to talk now about architectural engineering. And I think one of the things that's really interesting, following on from Peter's presentation, is that really we feel we've got two challenges. The first thing is that we want to talk with you about and support your learning in order to learn all these fabulous skills and transdisciplinary skills in order to become more sustainable and to solve all these problems. But the other question that's also at the back of our minds, because we are so passionate about this, is how can we even maybe we could even make the education system more sustainable. So another thing we wanted to just share with you today was a little experiment we're doing in order to think about, we talk a lot about concepts. You might have heard about circularity, where it's really important to reuse stuff. And I think you all do amazing work. So, and in a traditional education environment, you do that work, we tell you it's good, and then it goes. So we're really interested in seeing how we can make a more circular education system. And that's one of the things we want to talk with you about today. The second bit is that I think my most fabulous educational experience wasn't actually in a university. It was in a real world job in working in London for Norman Foster. So under that time, what was amazing about that was that it was an opportunity in order to learn really fast, working with real people on really exciting big projects. At the time, admittedly, it was a lot about sort of tall buildings and stuff that's not necessarily obviously sustainable. So now we have different challenges. We have a refocus on our challenges, and we know we want to build sustainable buildings. What does that mean? How do we do that? And I think we need to create really exciting learning experiences in order to learn how to do that together, because we do have to learn how to do that together. Those of you that want to build buildings on Mars, that's fine. We also do that. But how do we build sustainably on the ground? So that's an overview of what we're really interested in. So, and our education system is unique because it's also combining learning by designing with learning by analyzing in order to get the architecture engineering, in order to create that unique profile that becomes you. And that's what we need in order for you to become these future engineers in your ticket from DTU in order to solve these big challenges in the future. So how do we go from feeling like a student over towards the goal of feeling like an engineer at the end of it, feeling qualified and feeling that you can make the difference in the world? Is that a straightforward kind of process, or we actually feel that it's probably more of a kind of wiggly sort of path that you follow in order to get that thing and to become that disciplinary expert with those transdisciplinary skills? And in order to support that, then we've structured our program around flexibility and but around these 4 main points. So we have 4 main events, if you like, in the program. The first one being agile prototyping, where it's all about very sort of innovation and stuff, and then the BIM course, which is those that really like information modeling and modeling, and then advanced building design, where we learn how to do complex projects together, and then the thesis. And we have really interesting examples with our thesis in order to become this disciplinary expert at the end. Obviously, it's the same system that Peter's already explained to you, and I think what's fabulous hearing this already explained by Peter is that those the students in taking the Sustainable Fisheries course will also be with the students taking architectural engineering, which would never normally meet, perhaps. So I think all of these things being compulsory and coming together is great. So we've got the same 10 compulsory points. Program-specific courses will obviously differ and be more over towards architectural engineering. I won't go into that detail now. You can find that on the website. And then we've got elective courses. DTU's traditionally been about offering you a wide variety of choices and for you to find your own path through this, guided by your head of studies. And then the final bit of that master's thesis, which brings it all together at the end. And that's what we're training you up to get to this master's thesis. That's the thing that's going to get you the job. That's the thing that you're going to be talking about in an interview. So this is just going back now to that original concept where we said about that we in a traditional learning environment, we give you a problem and then you solve the problem, and then it goes into a learning management system. Looks a little bit like a bin, perhaps, and is marked, is assessed, but so what? So I mean, it's important you get your degree, but you just did some really clever work, and then what? Some other student's going to come in and do the same thing again. It might get your thesis, that's fabulous, but what if it doesn't? So is there another way to do this? Is there a more sustainable way to actually run the education system and to make your super valuable work more useful? And that's what we're talking about when we talk about the circular education system. So in this model, you produce really good work, say really good building designs, and then that's recycled back through the program and then into another course. So the course that's doing the analysis is then analyzing the design course from the previous year. The thing that's really exciting about this is it means that because everything's repeated, it means we get better. And when we get better, it means we can generate better engineers. It means you learn more, and we can actually make the best buildings. And we can start to say things like, we want to make the best buildings in the world. We want to make the most sustainable buildings in the world. And we can track to see how we're going against that. And you can do fabulous work and get us closer to those aims. So this is how we do that. We've got on one side the advanced building design course that we generate the buildings, and then that comes back round with the analysis from the tools. Fabulous resources. I should have lots more pictures of robots and labs and students having fabulous time constructing things in this in order to demonstrate that. But we've just chosen to show you the home of the program, Building 127 on DTU campus. We have a lot more specialisations, and this is really important because some of these are really popular and some of these are quite small, only 3 or 4 students on some, 20 on another. Now, some people might think that doesn't make sense. To me, it makes perfect sense because I know that those 3 or 4 students that I've got on that study line are completely and utterly passionate about that study line. So I would defend their right to study that study line because it's really important to them. So we do it based on the needs of what you are interested in. So summarizing now, and we're going to talk about the thesis, which is where we're going, and ultimately employment. So we said the same as Peter, we've got this Polytechnic Foundation across the whole of DTU. So there's your opportunity to find all the different students, and then we're getting your program-specific courses, and they're divided into the different specialisations. And then out of the specialisations, you've got some 30 ECTS of electives going up towards your thesis, and your thesis is an opportunity to be clever, but also your main chance is to get your foot in the door of some of the best companies in the world that happen to be in Denmark. So we have, you might have heard of Big and Ramble, 3XN, GXN, all these kind of firms. So we work with these all the time, and it is normal for a student to be doing their thesis with one of these companies. And so that's your opportunity to test and to really prove yourselves. And lots of them end up working there afterwards. This is a group of students very happy after presenting their own student projects to the architects and engineers at Big as part of the award they won from Big Engineering Group. Also, lots of fabulous opportunities to go abroad. Here, we'd like to emphasise our close relationship with Stanford and the AEC Global Challenge. And Renata at Stanford really likes our students, and for 15 years now has allotted a small slot that our students can go across, and she interviews them, and then they get to go across and do that, and that's really great. Yeah, and if you have specific questions that you'd like to catch up later, yeah, so there's our contact details, and I'll hand it back now to the floor and to have a chat with everyone. So thank you very much for your time today.
All right, thank you, Tim. And yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of questions to you all, but maybe having heard of these two different programs, you are now wondering, how can I apply to these amazing programs? Well, then of course we have our colleague Xenia that will tell you about the admissions process. Xenia.
Hello everyone again, and thank you so much for the introduction, Ali, and thank you so much for the presentations to Tim and Peter. It was very interesting, I think, for all of our audience to get some insights into the actual programs. But now let's talk a little bit about the costs, the fees, and the actual application process of how you apply to DTU. So as a non-EU student, you pay a tuition fee at DTU, which is 30,000 euros for a 2-year master program. So that's 7,500 euros per semester. If you are an EU or EEA citizen, then you don't pay tuition fees at DTU. So the cost of living for a student at DTU is approximately around 1,200 euros per month. I think you will find if you go and study sustainable fisheries, it might be a bit less because living expenses are less in Hirtshals than what you will find at the Lyngby campus. But there are many different student discounts available around the city, and I very much encourage you to look for them because sometimes there are more of them than you actually realize in the beginning. For non-EUs, we offer a limited number of tuition fee waivers for the autumn intake every year, which are merit-based. So if you see yourself as a high-achieving student, then by all means, we recommend that you try to apply for a tuition fee waiver, which you do by attaching a separate statement of purpose with your application, which you very clearly mark as a tuition fee waiver application. We also collaborate with a number of national scholarships. I won't go into too much details about it here, but you're very welcome to check out our website to know more about other funding opportunities. You will find that as a student in Denmark, many students actually have a student job along their studies. It's something that's quite recommended because it gives you, of course, a little bit of extra money, which is always nice, but it also gives you some experience, it gives you some networking skills, and gives you insights into the working environment. And actually, as a non-EU student, on your residence permit, you can work for up to 90 hours a month. So that's about 20 hours a week. And in the summer months of June, July, and August, you can actually work for 37 hours a week, which correspond to full-time work. Non-EU students are granted a 5-year student residence permit, which is separated into 2 parts. So the first 2 years are designated for your studies, for you to complete your master's degree at DTU. But then after you graduate, you have an additional 3 years to look for a job if you want to stay in Denmark. So it actually gives you quite a lot of time to figure out if you want to stay, and also just to get to know the country and the working environment and so on. So at DTU, we have sort of three main admission requirements categories, the first of which is the degree. We admit students who have either a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, a Bachelor of Engineering, or a Bachelor of Natural Science. You need to be aware that your bachelor's degree must be less than 10 years old by the time of study start. You will also need to fulfill a number of program-specific academic requirements. That can be, different courses or different topics you will need to have studied during your bachelor's degree. And you can find a full list of those under each program on the website. You also need to submit proof of your English language qualifications, which most students do by submitting a language test. And we accept the IELTS Academic, where you need a minimum band score of 6.5. We accept TOEFL, where you need a minimum score of 88. And we accept CAE or Cambridge Advanced with a score of 180 or above. Now, the application itself, you submit fully online through an application portal that is common to all universities in Denmark. If you go on our website and you select education and go under graduate and then select qualifying degree acquired outside of Denmark, you can find the direct link to the application portal, and you can find a lot of information in general about applying for a degree at DTU. There's a lot of valuable information, also student guides and, all those kinds of things. So we really recommend that you take a good look at the website. Now, when can you apply? So you can actually apply in about 10 hours because the application portal for autumn 2025 opens on the 15th of November at midnight. So that's, very soon. The application deadline, if you are a non-EU citizen, is on the 15th of January. And if you're an EU citizen, it's on the 1st of March. Now, I noticed in the questions that I think someone was asking, if you have a degree from a non-EU country, but you are an EU citizen, then which deadline do you follow? And you follow the deadline based on your nationality, because it's based on the type of residence permit that you will need to get to Denmark. So that's why the non-EU deadline is earlier than the EU deadline. But if you're an EU citizen with a degree from a non-EU country, such as the US, then you follow the EU deadline. So I hope to see many of you here. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Xenia. And yeah, I think that kind of wraps up our part of the presentation. Luke?
Yes, that's where I come back in, because indeed we're now going over to questions. So we already received quite a few questions from the audience, so we'll go over those for the live audience. If we by any chance cannot answer them, don't worry. We have all the questions recorded, so to say. We have them all on file. We can come back to you later. And also this goes for the people that watch the recording. I know a lot of the people do these days, so you can still write your questions and we send them over to the staff of DTU. And you can also answer the polling questions, by the way, so everyone can participate. And do let us know. And let's go ahead with the questions. Hibbert is asking, will you cover how to finance the studies? So I also saw some questions about scholarship, so I don't know if you can shed some light about that. Just to make sure. I guess Xenia,
I can just begin on that one. So I think it depends on whether you're EU or non-EU. But we only have scholarships that work with non-EUs. But I don't know, Ali, if you want to elaborate a bit on these different scholarship options.
Yes, so we do work with different scholarship organizations around the world. Most of the ones that we have direct collaboration with, you can find on our website. However, if you do not find your country or a scholarship body in your country on our website, it doesn't mean that you cannot go to another organization that we don't work with and get a scholarship through them.
But I think to add to that in terms of how you finance your studies, as I mentioned, you can get a student job. Many of our students do that. So they support themselves through having a student job. Some people obviously get a bit of money from back home, but we do see that a lot of people manage to finance themselves even without getting support from their parents. So I think there are a lot of ways that you can do it. If you're an EU citizen, then there is no maximum number of hours that you can work on the residence certificate you're on, but there is a maximum, as I mentioned, for the non-EU. So that you need to be aware of. But I think most students find that there are more opportunities, to fund their studies than you might expect in the beginning. So look around, and I'm sure you can find a lot of good options.
Great, thank you very much. And I will share the link how to apply and to find the admissions and the deadlines. So you see that right now on the screen. So there at the left bottom, if you click on that, you will get to the website of DTU, and where you can go through this process of the admissions and all of the deadlines as well. So the admissions is open, I understood, within approximately 2 days, I guess. Let's go over to the next question. Bakhitar, if I said it right, was asking, what is the employment rate for graduates of the master programs? I don't know if there's something you can answer, or specifically to these two programs.
Yeah, well, it's a very good question, Bakhtiar. The employment rate for graduates is right now, for international graduates, is 82%, which is more or less very close to the same as Danish graduates, which are about 88%. So I would say that is quite a high number, and it shows that there are a lot of opportunities for students to find employment after graduation here in Denmark.
Great. Well, we're getting lots of thumbs up and good reactions there, so I think that is being appreciated. Great to see. Question from Demesi about, well, I think this is concerning the Sustainable Fisheries program. He's asking, how are you engaged in research partnerships and collaborations, for example, with African universities? He's from Ethiopia. How do you create an opportunity in capacity building and training to foster this sector? Is that something you can briefly say something about?
I can try. So we don't have a direct collaboration in terms of education, but we do actually engage in or have been engaging every year for the past 10 or 12 years in a variety of different research projects in Africa. So this has been particularly in Ghana, in Tanzania, in Uganda, and part of that has also been training, but not related. Well, one project has been with funding for two Tanzanian students to come to DTU, but those are not common. So, but we do engage in it. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question or what, but to say directly that it facilitates student mobility to DTU, that's typically not the main purpose. That would require grants or scholarships from third parties.
Okay, thank you. Hope that answers the question. Otherwise, let us know. Next question from Hossein. Is there any chance of an application fee waiver for international students?
So the application fee, that's a very good question. When you're a non-EU student, you need to pay an application fee of 100 euros when you apply, and the application fee itself cannot be waived. So you have to pay for that one, even if you're applying for the tuition fee waiver.
Okay, thank you.
I think one
next
one
question.
Thing to mention
Bakhitar
here,
says, got my. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. Just one extra thing to mention is that if you get admitted to DTU, that 100 euros will be included in the semester. How do you say that, Zinia? Sorry.
Yeah,
worded correctly.
The 100 euros is included in the first semester tuition fees. So if you pay the 100 euro, or when you apply and you pay the 100 euros, and then you start at DTU, then the first semester fee will be 7,400 euros instead of 7,500 euros. So you won't need to pay an extra 100 euros.
There you go. Okay, Thank you for that addition. Next question from Baktitar Tiyar. Sorry, I got my bachelor degree 16 years ago. Am I still apply? Is it still valid? Sorry, to apply for the master.
So as we mentioned during the presentation, there is a rule at DTU stating that you need to have graduated from your bachelor's degree within less than 10 years ago when you start your master's at DTU. But I think we will get back to you via email, and then we can discuss your case.
Okay, thank you, Xenia. So get in touch. So the details are here, just to make sure, the email, so you can probably write there and get in touch that way as well, just to make sure. Then there was a question, and well, I saw a couple of people asking, actually. Well, Hossein was asking about computer science, and I think there was another person asking about sustainable technology. So there are different engineering programs as was presented. This webinar was about the programs as presented: architectural engineering and sustainable fisheries. But we have done another webinar, so about general some other programs, and also you will find there more information. So I will put that link. I think I can put that in the chat. So I'll look it up and I'll get it over to you in right a minute. I think, actually, was there another question? Let's see if I missed something in the chat. I don't know, B Joy, if that's a question about the fish migration, fish passage related research. Is there something, Peter, you can say about? I'm not sure there's a question.
We have colleagues that work on fish migration and fish passage related research. So if it's a question whether it's something we do, then yes, it's something we do, and it's also something that is part of the curriculum.
Okay, great. Hope that is answering that. Otherwise, let us know if there's a question about that. Meanwhile, I just pasted the link to all the webinars from DTU. So there have been several webinars done before. As mentioned recently, there was one about the general about the engineering programs, but there's also about a Nordic Master, and I think in the biotech was done last year as well. So it's still available to watch it as well. So
can I just add in that connection, Luke, because some of you were asking about career opportunities and how does it work, and career rates and so on. I really recommend that you actually go back a few weeks, because we did a webinar where the DTU Career Center was present just a few weeks ago with webinars for you, which you can also find on DTU's website. We have a recording of it, where one of our colleagues from the DTU Career Center was talking about all the different things that they do to support you as students, and to support you in getting to know, the Danish working environment and how you find a job in Denmark. They do all kinds of things to help students at DTU and help new graduates as well. So go and find that webinar, and then you can always just find the part where Clara is explaining about the DTU Career Center, because there were some very good insights from that one. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I will look up the direct link, so they should be able to find it through the one I sent you just now. It's called Engineer Your Future, Engineer Your Career. That is the one that Xenia is referring to. Actually have it right here. I'll put it in the links now as well. So just bear with me 1 second. So I think, yeah. Meanwhile, we have a minute left for any questions. So if you have any questions, do let us know. So I'm going to put now the webinar on the screen. That's the one you were referring to. I don't see any questions at this stage. I don't think I missed anyone. Let me see in the chat. No, I think that was answered. Yeah, so thank you. We're getting thank yous already. That's good to see. Well, thanks everyone for joining. again, let us know if we have a last minute. We have a last minute left, but otherwise, I guess all is clear. I have actually a question for everybody. That's through the polling. So if you haven't answered the polling yet, please do. I'm opening up a last poll right now on the screen. That is to see how we did. Sorry for blocking some of the faces from you. That is, but click it, just answering it, then it will be clicked away. Thanks for that. And without further ado, also I'd like to thank all the presenters for today. Tim, Peter, Xenia, and Ollie, thanks very much. Yeah, that you made your time for the students. I think it's appreciated. Maybe last word over to, I don't know, Ollie, maybe for wrapping up the session.
Yeah. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send us an email. We have, we're a group of we are a group that will answer your emails, and we also have students assistants as well that will support with that. So don't hesitate. The most important is that you are making an informed decision about your future, and we are just here to support that. So once again, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.